What is up, guys? In today's video we're going to be talking about Fortnite's newest update, because we actually got several changes yesterday evening after the hand cannon and falcon eye sniper were added. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below what you think of the shockwave hammer being added, and if you guys would like to use my code in the item shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So yeah, the shockwave hammer was added for some reason randomly yesterday. I'm actually very happy with this change. Playing today, the pace of the game felt incredibly good, but the shockwave hammer is a mobility item, and this is in the regular loot pool. You don't need to do anything specific to get it. You just get it from chests or floor loot. And the spawn rate of it did seem decently high when playing today. It wasn't like I had really any trouble getting it, and it seemed like my opponents didn't either, because a majority of the players that I encountered in the mid game would often have this item. So it's not a super rare item. You can use it as a mobility item or a melee weapon, but I think it is much better as a mobility item. You use your aim down sight button to kind of activate the movement aspect of this, and the direction you're walking as you activate it will kind of, make you go that direction, basically. And then you use your shoot button for the melee attack. Personally, I only really use it for movement. The melee attack is like a ground slam, which can kind of send enemies flying and deal like 75 damage, I believe. But it does leave you decently exposed. And as I said, it sends the enemy flying, which is often not what I want if I'm pushing them. I want to like fight them, not send them away so they can just, escape. So I've never been that fond of the melee aspect of this weapon. And I think if you look at like past chapter 6 melee weapons and you're expecting like something of that effectiveness from this, you are going to be disappointed. The melee attack is much more balanced than what we've seen with recent melee weapons. Interestingly enough, durability was not added to the shockwave hammer. It works just as it did in chapter 4. If you guys remember, the kinetic blade got added in chapter 6 season 1, and they added durability to it, meaning you had a limited number of uses, and a lot of players didn't like that. They didn't do that for the hammer. It has unlimited uses. You just have 3 uses, and then you have to wait for them to recharge over time. But one hammer is all you will need to, play throughout the game. You can carry multiple hammers if you want. They each have their own charges and cooldowns. So if you had 2 hammers in your inventory, you effectively have 6 uses of the shockwave hammer. And by the time you're done using the second one, the first one might be ready to use again for a charge. So you can carry multiple if you want. Personally, I didn't really enjoy doing that. I would kind of rather have the shockwave hammer and then another mobility item like the shockwave grenades, because one use of the shockwave hammer is less the mobility than one shockwave grenade is. The hammer is just often seen as much better since it is unlimited. Like, you get the item and then you got it for the game. You don't have to worry about finding more. But if you need to get somewhere quick or escape an enemy quick, the shockwave grenades I still think are kind of the better mobility item. And I found this to be helpful if I wanted to get away from somebody using the hammer as their only movement, or catch up to somebody using the hammer as their only movement. Because if we both just have the hammer, we're kind of equal in that regard, we just kind of keep pace with each other. But if I have the grenades, I'm going to have a much and the hammer, I'm going to have a much easier time getting away from them and resetting that fight, or chasing them if they do want to run away from me. One interaction that is pretty nice is that if you eliminate an enemy, their hammer will drop fully charged to you. So if, like, let's say hypothetically, you use all 3 hammer charges chasing somebody or going to push them, you could just quickly swap your hammer out with theirs to have 3 charges ready to go again. And that's something that can help you in a pinch, especially if you're about to get like third-partied or something like that. So the shockwave hammer is incredibly good. It's definitely a mobility item worth carrying. As I said, I think the shockwave grenades are better for one specific instance, but the best mobility item in the game right now is probably the shockwave hammer, since it does recharge over time and you don't really have to think about whether or not it's worth using different your charges or anything like that. You can just use it as you see fit. So the shockwave hammer being back is very good for the game. I think it is definitely fast paced again, like how it was at the start of the season, which is personally something that I enjoy. The outposts, or the OXR outpost shops, no longer have the purge or defend objectives. I'm not really sure why they did this, but previously 2 of these outposts would be marked with bugs for that match, and then you could go there and do that objective to either get the vulture boon or the forecast boon, along with extra loot and hero points. That is no longer the case. None of these shops are under attack. You can still land here, Like, these nerfs definitely did nerf the Outpost as a landing spot because you're not going to get that special boon and you're not going to get those hero points. But I still think they're a decent landing spot. They're just going to be more like how they were at the start of the season when not many people knew about them, where it's more of like a low-key drop spot. For the next few days, it'll maybe still be conned a bit just because people are in the habit of going there. But I expect as we go further in the season, less and less people will be landing here, and it'll be a nice little just like low-key chill starting location. And the fact that it has a shop there makes it still pretty good because you can buy high-rarity loot here, and you can buy mobility here. Each of these shops sells either crash pads or shockwaves. It's just kind of random game to game. But being able to guarantee that you'll leave your spawn with full mobility, even though you maybe would prefer the shockwave hammer, is better than nothing at all. So I think these shops were nerfed, but they're still good, and they just kind of changed. If you were someone who was primarily landing here to get hero points quick or to get forecast, then sure, they were nerfed. But if you're someone who wants a more chill, low-key landing spot, that's also quite good. I think that's what these OXR shop or OXR outposts will become. The fact that they have launch pads and they're all near boss locations, I still think there's a good amount of value to them. It's just a different value and a different like kind of thing than it was previously. But I think these shops will still be good. I saw a lot of people kind of hating on this change or saying that they're useless now, and I don't really agree with that. Another thing that got nerfed in this update is going to be the bugs. So there are now less bugs that spawn in the bug POIs, and they also spawn slower. So when you activate the hives or whatever, less bugs will come out, and then the cooldown between like then and that hive producing more bugs is a longer interval than it was previously. So this just means there's way less bugs at these POIs, and they are way less chaotic now. It's actually kind of like weird landing here and seeing like one of those small bugs come out rather than like a huge cluster of them. The HP was also reduced for the small bugs and the bombers. This doesn't really matter in the case of the small bugs, but for the bombers it does because they could waste a good amount of time as they teleported around and stuff, went underground. But with this change, I was pretty much always killing the bombers before they actually went underground in the first place. So I was able to clear them much faster and get the bug blaster faster, which was nice for like defeating the queen, and it was just an item I enjoy using. So they really reduced the amount of bugs, and like the feel of the bug POIs, like the boss POIs, is quite different now. The damage the small bugs do was also reduced, but it was already so low that this doesn't really matter much. I feel like the damage they did would only really matter if you were like incredibly weak or if you had like an incredible amount of them on you, but it's not like that amount of them is going to be happening anymore with the reduction on how many spawn. So the damage change, it's nice, I guess, but it doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. There's just less bugs to go around. I think this makes the boss POIs less chaotic and easier to deal with, but it also makes them worse for hero points if you were landing somewhere to farm bugs. If you were landing at the boss POI and getting the queen, I think you're still going to be able to easily get to A tier if you defeat the queen. But if you were landing at somewhere like Swarmy Stash, I believe is the name of the POI, that's where Brutal Boxcars used to be. If you were trying to land there and clear bugs to level up your OXR rank and you were like letting them spawn over and over again to farm them, that's not really something that works anymore. And you're going to need to like actually eliminate other enemies to get your ranks, not just farm bugs. So for me, it's a change that doesn't really affect me too much, but depending on where you land and how you played, it could affect you a good amount. And if you were landing at the boss POIs, it's just much easier to clear them. Two things that were vaulted with this update, which is kind of surprising, is going to be the Hammer AR and the Exotic Shockwave Launcher. So I don't know why either of these were vaulted. Thought the Hammer AR was a fine AR. The best explanation I've seen is like Epic didn't want people getting confused with the Shockwave Hammer and the Hammer AR when someone says Hammer. I don't really know, but it's a very random change. And they launched this season with 3 ARs, and it seemed like they were chill with that, and they haven't really added any ARs since. So I don't know why the Hammer AR was vaulted. And then the Exotic Shockwave Launcher, I don't know why this was removed. It's possible that maybe it just saw less use, or a lot of people didn't really know what it did. Or maybe there was a weird interaction between it and the Shockwave Hammer. I'm not too sure. This was a very strange update. This kind of happened at 10 p.m. Eastern time last night. And I don't really recall a time that a Fortnite update has happened that late. I mean, it's not like 10 p.m. is incredibly late, but in Fortnite terms, the updates and the changes are usually in the morning or afternoon. Sometimes like evening time, like 5 p.m. Eastern time. But I've rarely seen a change happen this late, unless something was very like buggy and glitchy and then it needed to be removed. Like I think the Storm Beast pom-poms got removed kind of late one night, but it's like that was an item breaking the game, so they removed it. This seemed like a planned change, or like several things that they wanted to do that just happened to be rolled out at 10 p.m. Eastern time, rather than when the update actually went live yesterday, which added the hand cannon and the Falcon Eye Sniper. So we got 2 updates yesterday. One was just much later in the evening. And then I also wanted to tell you guys about a stream I am doing this Friday. My Twitch will be linked down in the description below, but I am doing a marathon charity stream with a few of my teammates in Ghost, Fluger, Cosmic, and Camnuts. We are doing an unranked to Unreal 0 build like marathon stream, so we're going to be playing on new accounts, starting out unranked and grinding until we get to Unreal. I believe we're playing for 24 hours or until we get to Unreal, and this is starting this Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then going until like Saturday afternoon. So it's a charity stream for Adaptive Gaming, which is a charity that helps disabled gamers find other ways to play video games using other means, like people who are like paralyzed and stuff and can't play with traditional means. So it's for that charity. But as I said, if you guys want to see us grind to Unreal, that will be happening on Friday. My Twitch will be linked down in the description below, and then I may end up making a YouTube video about this if I think that, you know, the stream translates well to a video. We'll kind of have to see how it goes. But yeah, that is going to be it for this update. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Let me know down below what you think of the Shockwave Hammer coming back, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.